How's it going everyone, it's Vivi and welcome to another Kingdom Hearts video. So Union Cross, as usual, the Japanese version, received a story update. Thank you again Goldpanner for the awesome translations. So what are we looking at right now? Well, this one, it takes place after Brain and Ava spoke. We had Ava revealing to Brain that he'd be entrusted with the Book of Prophecies. She even told him there's a name which is marked or circled. She didn't say Brain during that scene, but she did bring it up, that someone on the list would get the Book of Prophecies. Ava didn't want Brain to look at the paper immediately, as to not cause distress. If Brain were to see that his name wasn't circled, I'll get to it, he would have questioned Ava for sure. She told him no one's allowed to look inside the book. So naturally during this scene, we thought that Brain was aware that his name was circled. But notice how she never gave the paper to him beforehand. She quickly put it inside the book for him to open it later. When Brain said, "I got your message," he started having suspicions. At least this recent update seems to prove so. He says, "I knew it," by looking at the names on the sheet of paper. He calls us Charity. Brain's Charity, by the way, is the cutest thing ever. A hat for Charity, look at that. He tells Charity he's got a request and a scene. We'll get back to this later. Fast forward to this scene. Brain wanted to meet up with Ephemer, or Ephemera, whichever you prefer. Brain tells him that Ava is trying to defy destiny, at least by trying to give the book to someone whose name wasn't marked. We thought it was Brain, but it's not him. He even had suspicions, at least going with the story update. Brain, to his surprise, calls Ephemer and thinks that something's off. Brain explains the whole deal with the book, in his opinion, you know, as a failsafe if the whole data world planned by the Master of Masters wouldn't work properly, that kind of thing. Brain acknowledges the idea of Ava wanting to defy fate. At least giving the book to someone whose name wasn't circled is a first start. That message he was referring to, how he received it, well, it was Ava having resistance against destiny. But then there's the other part. Apart from the whole name being circled, there's someone's name on the sheet of paper, a certain someone who was meant to be a Union leader originally, that being Strelitzia. It's as if someone took her spot, or should I say stole it, and took her life for it. And obviously the clip ends on a cliffhanger. We still don't know who the intruder is among the new Union leaders. A question might arise. Brain uses the term leaders. You know, Brain using plural form, as if the leaders on the sheet of paper are all different, apart from Strelitzia. Let's say you might think, oh, maybe Luxord was part of the Union leaders chosen? Maybe Larxene or Elrena? I mean, we still don't know why Luxord, Larxene have an importance if you go back to this scene in Kingdom Hearts 3. They have a connection to Union Cross, which we are yet to see. Now here's the thing. Did Ava really choose 5 random people whom she trusted the most? You know, going against the Master of Masters? And giving a book to someone else? Other than the name circled? Again, this being her way of changing destiny? Yes, she is trying to change the future in a way. The book, giving it to someone else, is an example. But Ava completely choosing random people? People who are not part of this list entirely, well, apart from Strelitzia? Well, I'm not too sure about that one. Strelitzia's name is on there. If Ava did choose a complete different roster for Union leaders, then why only kill Strelitzia if Ava is the killer? Wouldn't you want to get rid of everyone? Right? What do you think about that? If that was her way of removing the chosen 5 from the equation, surely she would have killed all of them. Why only kill one? Like, instead of just killing, just don't give that person the title Union leader. We even have a scene with Ava giving a notebook to Strelitzia. Why decide to kill her afterwards? Unless she suddenly realized that Strelitzia plays an important role, I just can't imagine Ava killing Strelitzia if she already had chosen her as a Union leader. The word leader in plural could maybe be a translation error, but I'm not gonna rely on that. But the leaders here, I believe, are the ones we currently have. It's just the way Brain speaks, and this scene makes us believe he's talking about an entire different roster. For now, I'm trusting Brain's instinct, believing that Ava did not make the changes in Union leaders. The names we have on the sheet of paper are the ones we have now, except for one. So summary. The names on the list, I believe, also by going by Brain's words of course, that Ava chose those people. She followed the Master of Masters' request, at least to that extent. but about the whole book of prophecies being given to this specific person, she didn't want to follow that, as a way, to change the future. But there is one person among the group whose name is not on the sheet of paper. Who is that person? Who is it? Are we looking at a killer among our new union leaders? Naturally, we like to believe that someone stole Strelitzia's position and decided to kill her. So, the question is, who is the killer? Let's try and determine this by elimination. Number 1, Ephemer, well, he's chosen. We got a scene to prove it, and was speaking to Ava. Number 2, Skald. I personally don't think she is the killer. Yes, we didn't have a scene with her getting the notebook, becoming a union leader, but remember, she was with Player in that house, or room, where Strelitzia eventually lost her life. We believe Strelitzia entered that house after Player and Skald left. When Strelitzia entered that room, Skald and Player are absent. Remember, Strelitzia's Charity saw Player and Skald leave that building. Strelitzia was looking for Player, so Strelitzia's Charity warned her, hey, I saw Player, and Strelitzia went over there. Why was Strelitzia looking for the Player, you might ask? Well, she wanted Player to join the Dandelions, because Strelitzia knew what was going to happen, that the world was coming to chaos after meeting with Ava. Unless Skald snuck in mysteriously, someone else was waiting for Strelitzia in there. There was Gula, who spoke to Player and Skald. Gula could have left, we aren't sure. But right now, I'm not saying that Gula is the killer. By the way, Skald was already part of the Dandelions. Her nature to me just doesn't seem to fit the killer aspect. Something I feel is gonna be brought up in the comments. The whole thing with Brain meeting up with Ephemera privately. Hey, isn't Skald close friends with Ephemera? Why would Brain want to speak to Ephemera privately? It's as if Skald, Ephemera's close friend, is an intruder. Also, this gives us the possibility to believe that Skald is the killer. I'm still not convinced. Yes, Brain wants to speak to Ephemera privately. That's because Brain feels Ephemera is the leader. In a cutscene where they discuss Shift Pride a while back, battling against fellow Keyblade wielders, Brain calls Ephemer leader. Alright? 3. Brain, I originally had suspicions, but he's now a leader. He also got the Book of Prophecies, despite him not being the chosen one for that. Lorium, number 4. Well, he wouldn't kill his sister. But the thing I don't get, why choose siblings? Strelitzia and Lorium. Was this really planned? Number 5. Ven remains as the culprit, alright? That's just my opinion. We don't know much about him. He always seems too happy. Yeah, he always seemed happy in Birth by Sleep. I get that. But if we take a look at this scene, Brain's Charity wants to speak to Skald alone. No, this doesn't mean Skald is the intruder and Charity wants to do something about it. No, I don't think so. I feel like this scene is telling us that Charity will soon tell Skald to be careful who she's dealing with. Ven, whose name wasn't part of the list of union leaders. We don't exactly know what Brain told Charity in this scene, it just cut shortly after. Brain could have told Charity that, hey, Ven's name is not on this list, he's an intruder. If you see Skald, bring her back to me, something along those lines, and if she's with Ventus, please warn her or something. I'm imagining that in my head. So 2 possibilities right now. Ven is the killer, probably due to his hidden darkness, which messes with his memory, I guess, makes him forget. Or, none of the union leaders are killers, but someone else wanted to defy fate, in a rough way. Whoever this was, perhaps Darkness, always sneaking around. This Darkness person probably knew what Ava was up to, eavesdropping. And this person does know a few things about the Book of Prophecies. I'll dive more into this Maleficent scene shortly. He or she, Darkness, this person, kills Strelitzia and gives the book to someone who wasn't on the list. Like, yeah, I believe Ven is the killer, but knowing Nomura, answers to our questions should never ever be obvious. Although we believe someone is the killer among the group, Nomura might laugh at us all and write the story in a way to make us think someone in the group is the killer and intruder. Some believe Darkness is Vanitas because of the line I am Darkness in Kingdom Hearts 3. That right there, I'm not saying it's far-fetched, but that's a perfect example of something being too obvious. This is Tetsuya Nomura, everyone, do not forget. He loves to mess with our heads. If Darkness ends up being Vanitas, then a time comes where Vanitas merges with Ven, probably after this Darkness kills Strelitzia. And this Darkness in Birth by Sleep gets extracted as Vanitas. What do you think about that? If Ven is as innocent as he looks, then to me, Vanitas most likely, if he is darkness, joined with Ventus later on, for some unknown reason. So the scene with Maleficent. This scene is the start of the explanation as to how the heck Maleficent returned in Kingdom Hearts 2 at Yensid's Tower. This is another classic case of Nomura trying to explain his methods of thinking, aka plot convenience. I love how she pronounces data. In her world, she's unfamiliar with the term data and computers and stuff. It's funny. Darkness tells her in order to return home, you have to head to the tower. That tower in Data Daybreak Town will allow her to return to the real world. She will have to find an arc within the counterpart of this world, implying that real Daybreak Town still stands, or partially. Plus, even Skald brings up the real Daybreak Town. Oh, I wonder if it's also snowing over there. So we're not entirely sure what happens to Daybreak Town. Well, we do know what happens in the future, you know, Daybreak Town under Scala, but for now we don't really know what Daybreak Town looks like. The real one I'm referring to. This arc they speak of seems to imply a pathway, or something that allows her to travel. Maleficent jokingly calls this transport device, since it's incomplete, you know, you can just call it a box. Don't confuse this with the black box, okay? She's just making like a joke here, at least that's what I understood. Due to the incompletion of this arc, her body won't withstand the force. Only her heart will remain. In order for her heart to regain a body, an intermediary will construct her flesh. The definition of that term tells us a person who acts as a link between people in order to try to bring about an agreement or reconciliation, a mediator. Not only that, people have to remember you in order to regain your flesh. So as long as both exist, you can come back. So you might believe, okay, if you need memory for someone to come back, then that means, let's say, bringing back someone from the organization, you would simply have to remember them. So the whole puppet replica program in K-Stray becomes useless, right? But here's the thing, as long as both exist, you need someone to remember you, and you need an intermediary. So going by the definition of that term, this link, perhaps, I know it's gonna sound funny, her bird, for all we know, could be that link between her and the fairies. Remember, the bird found Maleficent's cloak. If it weren't for her bird, her cloak would have been lost in a random place with no one to remember her. If it weren't for the bird, her cloak or heart could be stranded somewhere, with absolutely no one to remember her. Thus explains how Maleficent returns in Kingdom Hearts 2. The fairies remembered her, and she had her bird. I know it might sound funny, but I mean, I'm trying here, okay? So other than that, folks, this is it for the video. So what did you understand from this new story update? Who do you think is the killer? Do you think the killer is among the group? Or do you feel like someone entirely different took the life of Strelitzia as a way to also change the future, due to perhaps knowledge from the Book of Prophecies? So leave all of your thoughts in the comment section below, alright folks? So with that being said, I've been Vivi and thank you so much for watching.